Hello everybody, I'm Punchshot, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to get a sub 40 time in the Cosmic Shake Any Percent version 1.0.2. Now this is the downpatched version. I'm not going to go over how to downpatch in this video. Instead, I will link Tetrax's tutorial in the description because that'll be much easier to follow because I'm not good with that kind of stuff. Alright, so before we get into actual gameplay, I'm going to be going over a few things to set up the run. If you don't need to set up, you can just skip to when the gameplay starts. I'll put that on the screen because I don't know yet. Anyway, I'll be going over how to set up the auto splitter, how to set up the IL practice like these, the IL save states. I will be going over how to enable the no copyright mod because with that activated, this song will not play because it is copyrighted. I don't have it activated right now because it's not a run and I don't really care. It's best to show how it works by having the game not have it and then having it again. And then I'll be going over the test tools mod, which is good for practice and any percent in any of the other categories. Going over the auto splitter. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your splits are set to the Cosmic Shake, and you want to activate this. So you want to be comparing against game time, first of all, and then you got to do a few other things with your timers and your splits, if you have splits. So here, you want to go into your sub-splits, make sure this is comparing to game time for the splits, and also make sure your timing method for the detailed timer is set to game time. Let's make sure all the columns are set to game time. You want to make sure everything that has a timing method is set to game time. That is necessary or it's going to look really weird because some things will be RTA, some things will be in-game time. So once you've done all that, the timer should start automatically and take out the loads, just like that. So that is how to set up the auto splitter. Not much to it. Just gotta activate it, go into your layout, and change all the timing methods that you have. So yeah, that is how to set up the auto splitter. And now next, I will be talking about how to set up the no copyright mod and the test tools mod because they basically go hand in hand. You do the same thing to set up for both. I'll put the links for these downloads to the mods in the description if you would like to take a look at those. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and close the game because the mods will not activate unless you reopen the game after inserting them. Alright, so what you want to do is go into your file explorer once you download the mods, and you just want to find the mods that you downloaded. So like I'll find my no copyright mod here. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go into my D drive, go to Steam Library, Steam Apps, on the Common, SpongeBob SquarePants, Cosmic Shake, Content, Packs, and now this folder won't exist once you get in here. You'll need to create a new folder, and in this folder you will put the mods. I have the test tools mod in here because it's just easier to find. The test tools mod won't activate unless you actually have the pack in there. If you just have the folder in there, it won't work. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure you copy these into here. And then you're good to go to open the game again. So I will open it via Steam. And once we open this, it should show the Test Tools mod in the top left corner, and the intro song should be gone. And you know if the copyright mod is working if you hear this. If you hear the sound effects for these, it's working. So yeah, that's how to enable the Test Tools mod. I can demonstrate the Test Tools mod a bit as well. So like with this mod, shoutouts to Gordo for making this. You can travel faster. You can make save states like this. You can warp to with 1, 2, and 3. You can slow down the game by hitting 4, I think? Yeah. And then speed it back up with 5. You can have a free roam camera. You can show the triggers with 7, the names with 6, and you can see the player position with 8. So yeah, that's all pretty cool. And now I will show you how to display the FPS, because I forgot about that at the beginning. That's really important because all runs are required to have an FPS capped of 60. So what you want to do is you want to hit Control R. You want to go on to %local app data. You're going to hit enter, and it'll take you to all of the apps that you have on your PC. And you want to make sure that the folder that you're clicking on is the downpatched version, because if you downpatch, there is a chance that you could have 2 Cosmic Shake files. want to make sure it's the one that is a downpatch version that you are using. And once you click on the game's file, you're going to go to Cosmic Shake, go into Saved, go into Config, go into Windows Editor, and you'll scroll down to Game User Settings. And in here, you want to make sure the frame rate limit is set to 60. That is what mine is set to, and that will cap the frame rate. Okay, so that's how you cap your FPS, but how do you show it? So you want to open up your Steam, go into the top left, go into Settings, go to In-Game, and right here, there's an in-game FPS counter. I'm going to set that wherever you want to, and this is an optional option, and that will cause it to show. And you want to make sure these 4 are checked, and that will display the FPS. Alright, now to show you how to get the levels activated. So once again, you want to go into Local App Data, then you want to go into the Cosmic Shake, click on the Cosmic Shake folder, click on Saved, click on the Numbers folder, click on the Save Games, and here, once you download the ILs file, this is what you should have. You want to drag it into here, and you want to drag out all of the contents, all of the ILs. You just want to copy these, and you want to paste them all into here. And to actually get them in the game, you need to name them as followed, because otherwise it will not save. So you want to name it slot0.save, slot1.save, slot2.save, and so on. And once that happens, you should see these beautiful save states in here. Alright, so the last thing we'll be going over is how to rebind your controller buttons. And this is important because you can use keyboard or controller, but normally controller spamming with the regular mappings is a lot slower than mashing with keyboard. And if you rebind your controller keys, you can get it to be equal to or even faster than keyboard mashing. So first, we're going to open up Steam. Make sure you're in Cosmic Shake. Hit the Manage button. Go into Properties. Go into the controller settings. Hit this right here, Controller General Settings. Scroll down to the Guide Button Chord Layout. You want to hit Edit on that. Then you want to go to Edit Layout. And here it will give you a bunch of controller buttons that you are able to rebind. And to rebind them, you can just click on that and just pick a key. You only use mouse and keyboard to rebind the buttons. You don't need anything else. And this is just a layout that I made for example. I can't actually use it, but because for whatever reason my controller doesn't work with programs on my computer. For whatever reason. Yeah, the A key is the jump key, B key is the cartwheel or slam key, X is the button throw key, Y is to spin, or you can also use it to spam since it's left mouse click. I made L and R the costume change key because I wasn't really sure what else to do with it. The minus key can be used to go to the main menu. The minus button, I mean. The pause button is set to plus, and I'm using a Pro controller, so there's a screenshot button there. And we also have the triggers, ZR and ZL. I just made full and soft pull both interact buttons so that you can spam with. Not really much else you can do with them. And for the joysticks, you can also get your camera to move faster because regularly the controller camera is really slow, but if you make all of these joystick mouses, you can have them be a lot faster. Alright, so I think that's all there is to talk about with rebinding controller buttons. Alright, I think that's everything. Now we can finally get into the gameplay. Let's do it. So before we get started here, what we're going to do is a glitch that will break the achievement screen. And this is because every time you finish a level and try to warp, from time to time, the achievement screen will automatically pop up and it'll lose you a couple seconds each time it does that because you have to exit it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new game, immediately exit, and then start a new one. Like this. And you know it works if that objective pops up in the main screen, and then you're good to go. So now you can just spam through these. If you can spam fast enough, it's preferable to do it everywhere, apart from a few conversations that are too long to skip through. So, not much to talk about here. Just hit the T keys in this order. Fastest way to do that. Spam and skip this cutscene. Hit the button, and then just talk to Patrick. Simple. Now we just gotta skip through these cutscenes. Okay, so here's where it gets started. Okay, well, give me a sec to get warmed up. So jump spacing is a very important part of this speedrun. If you don't jump space properly, you aren't going to have enough distance to make some of the jumps that are in the run. So jump spacing is just being able to jump and space out your spins properly to get the maximum distance. So here, I just want to spam through the tree dome dialogue. And for this button, you don't need to be directly on top of it. As long as SpongeBob's shadow is somewhere over the middle part of the button, it'll activate. Just to make it go by fast, just to like do that, slam that button faster. So here we're gonna just spin stall to use as little pizza gliding as possible, since it slows you down. And for this fight, it's fast, just do 2 at a time. Okay, and now we have the cartwheel, so I want to talk about jumping after doing the cartwheels. And we do this because every time you cartwheel, your momentum will be reset to 0, and jumping prevents that at the end of each cartwheel. Once you start to come out of it, you want to jump. If you get that reaction, if you jump and nothing happens, you jump too late. It's a frame perfect issue here. So you just want to spam through that once and enter the portal. So coming into here, it's fast to just hold left immediately. So you can take this turn here tighter. Saves like half a second. Alright, then we want to stay here for a trick called Radical Left, where we're going to hit a few speed triggers that are left here. Then we're going to hold right, so we can activate the cutscene faster. Then you just want to spam through his dialogue. And here we're going to do the first hover of the run. And now hovering works because anything that is off camera in this game is considered unloaded. And when SpongeBob slams, he is not loaded, so his slam animation never ends. And it'll just let you hover around like this for a certain amount of time before it ends. So here I'm going to show you the setup that I use. So once you spawn in here, just going to cartwheel a few times. And now you can practice this. You want to set it up as fast as you can, lose as little time as you can setting it up. And I use this cloud to the left here. So I cut off about like half of it. I leave this little sliver left. And once you hear the sound of you collecting jelly, you'll know that you're at the trampoline. Like that. So now we're just going to cartwheel to the next hover. This is one of the jumps that requires jump spacing. And dodge canceling is also important for the run. Dodge canceling is just cartwheeling and spinning at the same time. And that lets you get a lot more distance than just regular jumping off the edge. Alright, so here we're going to do another hover. And to set this one up, I do 2 cartwheels, turn my camera up. And once you hear him stop walking, you want to slam. If you wait too long to slam, you're going to hit a death barrier sometime into the hover. Alright, so we're looking to the left here. So you want to see where this flower is on my screen. By the time the hover finishes, you want it to be around in between where the underwear is and where your main objectives are. And we're going to wait for this objective marker to hit the flower. And we're going to stop. And it takes some time to get used to how far you have to go, so you don't lose time for needless hovering. Alright. So into the seahorse section. So seahorse sections, you're just going to spam, jump, and dash. Occasionally holding in the direction that will allow you to take turns faster. And once you make it to the end here, I'm going to skip 2 cutscenes, spam through Mr. Krabs' dialogue, and skip another cutscene. And once you come out of that, I'm going to quickly turn the camera and start cartwheeling. I'm going to turn your camera up a little bit ahead of time, so that's time to adjust, and at the 5th cartwheel you just spam the slam button into the hover. And for this hover we actually have 2 visual cues. The first one is this cloud here to the right, that's going to be visible for around half the hover. Once it goes away, this blue flower here will start to appear in a second. And here you want these 2 petals right here to show up at roughly around the same time, if not the left one a little bit sooner. And then once this dot in the center here starts to appear, you want to drop. And I'll take you straight to the cactus. And now once we get to the cactus, you see I stood on the bucket there. That's like right next to the cactus. That's not necessary because we're about to do a platform skip here. But it makes it a lot easier because it gives you a lot more height starting off on the jump. And it makes it a lot more consistent for me. It doesn't really lose time. So once we get the cactus juice, I'm gonna wait a tiny bit, do a spin stall, and jump into that ledge grab here. Okay, then after that, we're just gonna platform on these tikis, stopping as little as possible, and get the next cactus. Okay, and then we're gonna start cartwheeling. How you cartwheel here doesn't really matter, as long as you space them out really well. Okay, then after we get this cactus, it doesn't really matter if you get hit or not. But after you get this cactus, we're going to do another platform skip that'll skip this one. And to do that, you want to ledge grab the end of this wooden part of the tower. But sometimes ledge grab like just doesn't work. If it does that, you can just land on the bottom one and double jump up here. That works too. But once you're up here, you have two options. You can either do a dodge cancel and play it safe and ledge grab, or you can just skip the ledge grab by doing a normal cartwheel like this. And now, here is the ledge grab version, the safer version. Yeah, so you have two options there. The one I normally do is the ledge grab skip one, like that. Okay, then after you do that skip, you're gonna jump on these two tikis, and you're gonna jump right here, right on the end of this platform, on the lower part. You don't want to grind against the wall at all though, because if you do, you're just going to hit it from underneath and you won't be able to get up. So you want to keep your distance a little bit, do the double jump. Then you want to get on those two tikis however you can, ledge grabbing it or just jumping from that wooden post. Once you're on here, you're going to jump up there. Now you don't want to do a dodge cancel here, because if you break this tiki underneath you, you won't be able to get up there and you'll lose a lot of time from that. So normally I just do a cartwheel like that. No spins, no nothing. You don't even need a cartwheel if you don't want to. You can just ledge grab it like that even. So then you get on these tikis, do another cartwheel, and you're good to go. Now for this incoming fight, you have two options. First, for the abomination there, the spawner, you can either just hit it 3 times regularly, damage boosting after every attack it does, or you can hit it once, go into the death plane, which will cause it to hide. And when it hides, you can just hit it twice in a row without it having to attack. And doing that twice saves around 2 seconds. So I'll try to show off both methods here. So this is just doing it normally. This is what I do in runs, because I find it a lot more consistent. You go over here, kill this one, and kill the other abomination. Okay. Now that is that version of the fight. Oh, there's one left. That's okay. So now I will demonstrate the second version. Okay then, for the second method, what we're going to do is we're going to hit him once, cartwheel into the death barrier, and just hit him twice in a row. Now you don't want to cartwheel too early the first time, because if you do, the shockwave is going to get you, because your cartwheel won't be able to go through it all. So yeah, here we go. Okay, that's good. Then just hit him twice. Then I'm going to do it again with the next one. This one's close enough to the edge that you can just slam into it. So you just hit him twice in a row, and you're good to go. Okay, and that's how you do the fight properly. After that, you're just going to go to the barrel and hold E to enter the cave. And now we're in the bullworm mine. For the bullworm mine, we used to need to go over there and get the gold tooth, but that's not needed anymore, because we can just go through this wall here because it has no collision. So I'm just going to jump just to the right of this crystal, and hold forward to clip out. That's simple. Just stand on this and do a single jump. Sometimes you'll get a ledge grab, sometimes you won't. But yeah. So after you get through, you don't really need to set up your hover, because you want to start it in mid-air. So after you start falling for a bit and let the camera adjust, you want to pizza glide, and this will let you hover. So here, I'll demonstrate it. Just like that. Now once you're hovering, you don't want to be too far to the right. I normally look at this pale flower at the bottom of the screen. Make sure it's slanted to the left a bit. And you want to aim for this big tunnel-like thing. There's going to be a rock here to the right that you don't want to grind on too much. So yeah, just like that. And you hit the load zone. Okay, then now we just have this segment. We're going to cartwheel for a bit to the seahorse. Just copy my movement. There's no really better way to do it. So for this, we're just gonna spam jump and dash, and occasionally we're gonna hold direction, so it will let us take turns tighter, like I held right there at the beginning. This game's run is heavily movement based, especially in top level, because like all the tricks are like relatively easy. There's no like really hard tricks apart from maybe the bone skips and pom pom, but yeah. Once you know how to do all the tricks, it's all about optimizing how you do them and being able to do them faster and faster. That's gonna be where you save most of your time. Okay, then we skip that cutscene and enter the train. Now here you can just copy my movement. I just fall into this fight, cartwheel to the first enemy, jump, and cartwheel to the tartar sauce. And you can just go through that door when it starts to open. There's gonna be a cycle with those cardboard cactuses you see way in the distance. That depends basically on how fast you can do the train before that. And it's always the same. Oh, well that was kind of slow. That's not what was supposed to happen. I was supposed to not ledge grab there, because I waited, but I did ledge grab, so. And there I was supposed to do a dodge cancel that I missed. That's alright. This cycle's a little bit later than I'd like. And then we come to the final fight here. We're just gonna damage boost through all of his attacks. And they have to be on screen before the button appears at the end, because if you don't look at them, their death animation won't ever happen, and the game will think they're still alive. So you gotta look towards them as the button's appearing, and it will appear right when the second one goes away. So yeah, that's the entirety of JF. And then when the game comes back, you're just gonna skip a cutscene and then spam through Mr. Krabs' dialogue. And then once you're through that, you're gonna cartwheel to Cassandra, spam through her dialogue, and go to Plankton. Now, Plankton's dialogue you can either skip through or mash through. I just skip it because I talk to him accidentally a few extra times sometimes. But yeah, after you talk to Plankton, you have two options to get to that button up there. You can either use the tree and jump up there, or you can jump on the wooden side underneath the platform and get up there. So here, I'll show a comparison real quick of the two methods. So as you can see, going underneath is faster without using the tree, but in my runs personally, I prefer to use the tree because it's only a quarter of a second, and using the tree just gives you a more consistent time. Just because, like, going underneath, you can miss the ledge grab, you can miss jumping onto the rock, you can miss jumping up to the top of the platform, and it's just overall more consistent. So yeah, do two cartwheels, other cartwheel, jump on that tree, and do that. Alright, so you can spam or skip this dialogue. I just skip through it because if I spam extra, I have to skip through more dialogue, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, you want to talk to Cassandra, spam once, skip a cutscene, and then spam again. Okay then, now we're getting on the Seahorse. And for Seahorse sections in the hub, you only want to jump at the end of your dash, as opposed to the scripted horses, where you just spam, jump, and dash. So we got on the horse. You can choose to do a second jump, because if you do it precisely, you can maintain your momentum for longer. So once you get to the portal, at around here, you want to try to dismount to try to negate the knockback you get from reaching the portal with the Seahorse, and then immediately start spamming to get through the portal dialogue. Alright, and then we enter downtown. So once you load into downtown, we're just going to skip a cutscene real quick, do a few cartwheels of Pearl, and then skip through her, and then mash through her dialogue. Just make sure you don't get any extra dialogues in there. So you can just kind of copy my lines here. Again, lines are very important. Spin through those tikis, and when you get to this trampoline here, you want to actually stop your jump early to stop your vertical height, and do a cartwheel on this. That's the most optimal way to do this section. instead of just waiting for him to fall. Instead, you want to hit the trampoline, immediately do a double jump and pizza glide to stop the vertical height gain, and do a cartwheel. Okay, then we get to this dialogue that we're gonna mash through. Okay, and right here we have two options. We can either jump over this fence here, straight from the cardboard, or we can jump on this ledge over here. Now personally, I jump on the ledge as opposed to jumping from here, because it's a lot more consistent, but you can do what you want. I'll show a comparison of the two methods right now. So as you can see, jumping straight from the cardboard is around a second and a half faster than jumping onto the ledge. And in the comparison, I jumped from right here, but when you're actually doing the trick, you're gonna actually want to do it from right here and jump on the cardboard. Because going down here and jumping from here onto there is faster than waiting for this ledge grab to happen on this flap. So yeah, you're gonna jump from here onto this box, and you're gonna dodge cancel over to this. And like you saw, you can either jump on that ledge or straight from here over to the fence. And this one's a lot harder to do fast because a lot of the times, if you don't hit your dodge and your spin close enough together, you'll just slam off the edge. It's something that I still struggle with, and even if you do get the dodge cancel, the amount of height you lose from the dodge cancel can vary, and if you lose too much height, you won't be able to make it over the fence. Especially if your spin stalling is a little bit like a newbie speedrunner. So yeah. Preferably if you're starting off, you want to jump on the ledge. But if you're actually going for really good times, might start to consider jumping over that fence. Alright, so now that we talked about jumping over the fence, now we're going to get into Backlot skip, where we need to do a wall hover by facing the camera in the opposite direction of the wall to get SpongeBob off screen. And we're going to land on top of the doorway there. So for this, you want to hug the right side, because if you're too far to the left, you're going to activate the fight dome and you won't be able to get out of it. So when I jump on this cardboard, do a cartwheel, ledge grab the pipe, and jump on the ladder. When you're on top of the ladder, you just want to do a double jump. You don't want to do the double jump too fast though, because if you do, you're going to be too high and the camera's going to go over the wall and you'll stop hovering, because SpongeBob will be visible again. If you don't have enough height, you're just not going to be able to land on the ledge, so you got to find like a medium. This is one of the few hovers in the game that I find easier to do on keyboard, because you can't just hold the joystick up like a normal hover. You have to actually move the joystick around so that the camera doesn't start panning up, which is much easier to do on keyboard than controller. Because on controller, if you move the joystick too much, you're just going to make SpongeBob on screen and you're going to stop hovering. So when actually doing it in the run, it's going to look kind of like this. It also feels faster to set up on keyboard compared to controller. Yeah, just like that. So after we get on this, the next step is to jump on this invisible wall here. Now you really need to get a feel for where this wall is. So you see this like strip of metal, this line that I'm angling SpongeBob's head towards. This is around where the invisible wall is. And you need to get a feel for where this is to be able to do this trick fast. When I do it in runs, I can kind of guesstimate where it is. Around here, so like I kind of angle my camera ahead of time so I know where to land. So it's like along this strip of metal. So yeah, and once you're along this wall, you're going to do 2 cartwheels, or 1 cartwheel depending on how far along you are in the wall when you jump there. So you're going to do 2 cartwheels, and now you're going to hold against the wall here. Okay, we fell. So once you got on the invisible wall, you're going to do 2 cartwheels, go left and do a double jump and grind against the wall here. And this is where you're going to do another wall hover. So you want to set it up. You're going to do a double jump against the wall and hit slam. You can even do it with a single jump if you'd like. And when you start seeing this blue building come into view, you want to start turning the camera. Kind of want to glide along the invisible wall with this building. And once you do that, you're free to jump on the ladder and jump on this invisible wall. Now you don't want to go too far with this double jump from the ladder, because if you do, you're just going to miss the invisible wall because it gets higher after a certain point. So you want to stay kind of near the ladder when you do that double jump. And then you just want to do a dodge cancel, double jump over here. Okay, and from here we're just gonna run alongside the invisible wall for around halfway. So here, let's speed this up a bit. So once we get to around here, you want to watch out because there is a spot here where if you try to do a cartwheel, you'll just fall and slam into the camera area. You see that ledge grab right there? If you slam in that small spot, you're just gonna slam into the 2D area and you'll soft lock your game and you won't be able to get out of it. So that's a danger you want to watch out for. So once we're around right here, then you can either stop or set it up ahead of time. We're gonna do a fall hover. And once this building disappears, we're going to count to 6. And once we get to 6, we're going to stop over Squidward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang. Really 7. Alright, so now we're in the director. And once we're here, we get an ability called the kick that we can use, which we need for the run. And now we're about to set up for Dojo skip. So for Dojo skip, we have 3 options we can take. So first we want to jump up on here and get on this half wall. But once we're up here, we have 3 options. We can either use the slingshot to jump up there, use the platform under the window to jump up there, or we can hover from the window and land on that invisible wall at the building there. So I will show a comparison of the 3 methods because honestly I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. Alright, so after the comparison you just saw, the hover and the slingshot method were very much closer than I had thought they would be, being only a few frames apart. And the window platform seems to have been the slowest method. So for right now, I would recommend doing the slingshot method, which I will explain right now. Though it is a little bit harder than the window platform method, at first anyway, you want to stand on the end of this slingshot, do a dodge cancel, and do a regular double jump, nothing else. And you want to do that first jump, preferably as soon after you do the dodge cancel. Space out the 2 jumps a little bit. You don't want any spins, just a dodge cancel and the 2 jumps, and that's it. And the strat that you saw me do, jumping around this side of the chimney, is optional. You can either jump on this window onto the top of this building to get to this invisible wall, or you can do what I did and jump around this chimney so you don't have to go on top of the building, which saves about a second. Alright, and once you're on this wall, you're gonna start to face your camera up opposed to what I did in the comparison, because I just needed to show a solid like end point. But yeah, you want to face your camera up. And I recommend starting your hover on this invisible wall, because if you start it from this building, you're not going to have enough height to make it on that tower with the boxes on it in the distance. So I recommend starting your hover from this invisible wall. And as you're walking, you might want to do a cartwheel, turn, and start hovering. Now I kind of want to make sure this button up there and this balloon that's about to show up, like in the center of the screen around. Now you don't want to be too far to the left, because if you're too far to the left, you're going to hit a death barrier. You want to turn slightly into the hover, making sure this crane is like a little bit to the right of the center of the screen. And when this building passes, you want to slam. But not too early, because I almost died there. As soon as this red building starts to appear. So yeah, that's it. And now we can do the rest of rooftops. Dodge cancel to these enemies. On some occasions, you just want to cancel your kick instead of follow through with it. It's a little faster than just waiting for you to fall after kicking the enemy. Then you want to jump on the surfboard, do a double jump, and now we have the jump to this chimney. And I think the best way to do it is just to do a regular double jump and grab against the building a bit to ledge grab. Sometimes you might go too far and you'll just not get the ledge grab, and it'll be hard to react to that. But yeah, that's what I normally do. And then we want to hit this balloon, and we're going to turn left. And we're going to jump on these tikis, jump on the arrow, jump on these 2 windows, to get up here to set up for a hover. Now there are 2 hovers you can do. One goes straight over to that building that lands on a window, where we jump on that chimney on that building over there, and kick an enemy to get up there. But the slower version, which loses about 10 seconds in comparison, is hovering over to that platform there with the balloon right behind it. And I will show off both methods right now. So yeah, the first one, you can take your time setting this up at first because it's kind of finicky to do it without the setup. You may want to take a couple seconds to get used to the feeling of doing it right away. Like if you do your cartwheel too far back and you have too much room, you're gonna do an extra cartwheel and you won't be able to have enough height to land on the window. But if you do it too far forward, you're gonna lose too much height as well. So yeah. And once this bolt right here, these two bolts start to appear, you want to pass those and not do that. So once you see these two bolts, you're just gonna land and you should be on the window right when you pass these two bolts right here. And once you land on this window, you want to kind of stand in the center and throw a bubble. And this bubble will automatically home into that button. But you don't want to be too far on either side of the window because then it just won't home into the button at all. And once you're here, you're gonna dodge cancel and jump to that chimney right there. What you usually do is just a dodge cancel and pizza glide. I'll show that off again. The dodge cancel and pizza glide. You don't want to grind against the building too much though, because if you do, there's a chance that you just won't be able to grab the chimney. So to make sure you're at least a little bit away from the building, be doing the pizza glide. Yeah, and that's it. And then you're gonna stand here and kick this enemy. It doesn't really matter how long it takes for you to get up here, as long as you get up here before the crane starts going back up. So, oh, I already killed an enemy, so I'll just... So I'm gonna throw the bubble. I don't normally go for the ledge grab. Let's do that. But yeah, I already killed this enemy. You can also go straight for the balloon. I didn't even know that, I just tried it. Okay, the other method, like I said, is going over to that platform with the balloon behind it. So I'm gonna start a straight hover. Making sure this line of the clouds is kind of like in the center-ish of the screen. Go in between this green building and this green building. And once you get right there. This is the method that loses 10 seconds. And once you get here, there's going to be a certain crane cycle that you might want to make. I'm honestly not sure what the cycle is because I haven't done this version in so long. Okay, I'm just going to kick the enemy right over here. But honestly, the window cover, if you set it up, isn't even that much harder than that version, if I'm being honest. It might even be a little easier, not gonna lie. So yeah, if you want to feel safe doing the window hover, you can do a costume change by just changing costumes and exiting the pause screen, and then that will give you your jump back out of the slam. Okay, then either way you do it, you're going to end up on this crane, and you're going to kick this balloon for the next crane. You don't want to go too early, like I do sometimes, and just die. You want to be patient. Take this surfboard, kick this enemy. Pick one of these guys. And throw the bubble. Do that. Now, into the boss fight, we're going to want to have 2 HP, because there's a strat in the boss fight that requires us to die to skip a attack phase, which you're going to see in a bit. And opposed to standing on the trampoline, you want to actually stand on this corner here and jump, like when it's like parallel with the top of the building around. And you can hit the button. And now into the fight. So we want 2 HP instead of 1 HP, because if you die too soon, the attack phase won't happen. You'll have to do the jelly fight over again after the first phase. So we're gonna kick her. The best way to do these fights is to stand in the center, but not so close to the tree, because if you are too close to the tree, the enemies just won't come to you. And as soon as they're about to dash, you just want to jump and have them hit the center. And now I'm gonna die. So yeah, if I had 1 HP there, I would have died too soon, causing the jelly fight to happen again, and we don't want that. Now I'm just gonna let her hit the barrels again. And for the next fight, we're just gonna stand over here, so that we have the same kind of situation layout as we did for the first fight. Alright, and that's good. And now we're just gonna hit it one more time, and that's the end of downtown. Okay, and that's it. Now we're on to Goo Lagoon. Okay, then once we exit downtown, we're gonna skip a cutscene, spam through some dialogue. And once we're back in the hub, we have two options. We can either just cartwheel straight, or we can hold up left and use mystery to get over to the portal. Using mystery saves about 2 seconds, but if you die, there's a chance that you could lose a lot of time. So by using mystery, and jump on the bus, and that's why it's so dangerous. If you hit that wheel, there's a good chance that you might die and not save any time. But let me try to do it again, get it properly. That's what's supposed to happen. That is 2 seconds faster than just cartwheeling there. Okay, now we enter Goo Lagoon, where we just do 2 hovers and end the level. So I'm just going to start off by cartwheeling all the way there. Kicking enemies. When you kick enemies, sometimes you want to cancel your kick by jumping. That is slightly faster than just bouncing off the enemy. And now you want to jump onto this tree. And you want to go left as far as you can to avoid that cutscene. And also, you want to occasionally move in the air because there's a chance that the pies can hit you out of your pizza glide and lose you time. So you just want to make sure you're aware of where the pies are going to hit. And so here, I usually stand right here and do a double jump, but you don't want to hold forward because it won't let you get enough height sometimes. So you just want to do a double jump while standing still and get up here. So once we get up here, we're just going to angle ourselves and start the hover. And now my visual here is this ship you want to see. You want to be kind of angled to the right. And this palm tree, you want to be on the kind of the left side of your screen, and you're going to get stuck in this little crevice here. Is ideally where you want to land. Occasionally you can get enough height and land right up here, not have to do that jump, but that's not really worth it. So now you want to get on those leaves because you won't have enough height to jump on this if you're not on the leaves. So I jump up here. And now here you can either do a dodge cancel from here and get up here, or you can just do a normal double jump like that. So now I want to show you my setup for one of the most precise hovers in the run here. So normally I want SpongeBob's right foot positioned on this hole in the leaf of the tree. I want to angle myself, and you see this very slight tip of the ship to the right here? You want that to barely be on screen when you start the hover. And if you do a jump hover, you need to jump and slam at basically the same time, barely slamming after the jump, or you won't get enough distance. So like that, that should be perfect. So that'll go off screen like a second or two after you start the hover. And then you just gotta keep your camera from moving horizontally as much as possible to keep the same angle. You kinda guess where you have to land when the ship appears here. So yeah, this looks good. Just like that. Perfect. And now I'm gonna show you how to do the boss fight correctly. So to do this boss fight, I normally do a cartwheel, kick this enemy and cancel it, have that jelly slam down, and kill the rest of the enemies. Then I target the tartar sauce spot and kill him. Now for the second phase, we're going to target the spawner immediately, have all these minions clump together, hit this ball back towards that guy up there, and kill all the rest of the enemies. Now he's going to fire a second one, and then we're just going to kick these enemies up here and kill them. That's the second phase. Easy enough. And you can do a little skip here, cut some of the straight walking. And now we're going to have this enemy do a shot to him, and then we're going to kick an enemy behind him to stun him, which will allow us to slam him and just kill him instantly. And then we're just going to focus on killing the spawner while also paying attention to when those bombs go off on us. And then we just hit the button, and that's the level. Okay, and once you come out, you're going to skip a cutscene, do some spamming, and then you're going to hit pause, spacebar, and then Crusty Crab. And now it's time for the patty minigame, which is 100% up to RNG. In this minigame, you can lose up to 10 seconds. The best I've got was a 104, the worst I've got was a 53, just for reference. And just note, if you flip a uncooked patty and then an uncooked patty, you can skip a little bit of the cutscene when they're both finished at once. I'll try to demonstrate it here. Like that. You can skip a little bit of the cutscene of him flipping the first patty. So that saves like a little bit less than half a second every time. So we're just going to fast forward through this since everything else is the same. Okay, so as you can see, I got a 101, and then we're just gonna spam through that once. That's only one text box. And once you're out of there, we're just gonna hit pause and then select 2 times. And now I'm gonna use Mystery to get over to Cassandra slightly faster, and take Mystery back. You can also warp back to the beginning, which I do in runs. It's up to you. So now we're in rock bottom. And before we go straight to the boss fight, we have to get the scare power-up, which will allow us to clear the museum, and which is unfortunately not able to be skipped. And so for this hover, you can either YOLO it by just jump hovering like this, or you can play it safe by just standing here and then looking up. And you don't want to be too far back, or SpongeBob is going to be on screen. Your camera is going to be too close up. So you got to stand right here, wait for that camera to zoom out, and look up so he's off screen. But if you do the rushed version, you don't need to do that. You can just dodge cancel, double jump, and slam. You got to be careful when you do the slam though, because if you do the slam too soon, SpongeBob's still going to be on screen, and you won't be able to get the hover. And then once you reach this wall around here, you're going to just warp back. And now we're just going to do cartwheel, go off the edge, look up as we fall off, and slam hover. Now here my visual cue is to make this pipe straight, and we're going to focus on this dot here in the center. And once this dot in the center starts to go slightly off screen, like right around now, we're going to stop the hover and rub against this wall so we trigger that checkpoint. And once that checkpoint's triggered, we can just hit left 2 times and go into the museum. Now my cycle here is normally to get this first one here, get the one in the back, one to the left of the entrance, one to the right of the entrance. That's my typical cycle. A common mistake I make is I get stuck on this spider web a lot. The hitbox is a lot bigger than it looks, so be careful there. Alright, and now we're in the boss fight. Not much to note here. Boss fight is pretty easy for a speedrun. You can do a single jump and do a cartwheel on that fence to go slightly faster. But yeah, now we're just gonna stand here. If you have a low enough HP, you could just die here and skip the attack, but it's not certain whether it's fast or not. And now that jump is easier than it looks actually. I'm gonna explain it right now. So once we get into this phase, we're just going to stand at the bottom of this railing. You don't want to stand at the top, because that's going to give you a much bigger distance to jump. You just want to do a dodge cancel spin and double jump up here. You might need a ledge grab, you might not need to ledge grab, depends on how good jump spacing is. Want to be careful that you don't get stuck underneath the stairs here. And for here we're going to do a wall hover. Simple enough. Not much more to it. Sometimes you'll get really unlucky and get pushed down slightly by invisible stuff on the wall, but that rarely ever happens. So yeah, that is the level. And once we come out of this, we're going to skip 2 cutscenes here. And then we'll hit pause and just spam space to go back to SpongeBob's Pineapple like this. And you can either take the seahorse or you can cartwheel over to Cassandra. In this first line of dialogue here, we're going to skip instead of spam through, because if we spam through it, it's going to pop up a screen that's going to take a few seconds to go away. So we're just going to skip, spam, skip, spam, skip, spam. That's the pattern. And now, once after that, I'm going to hit pause, select downtown, not downtown, hub, and go to boating school. Each of these portals just has a one-liner, so you can just click through that. And now this line of dialogue, once we enter here, is too long to spam through, so we just skip it. So 2 skips. Fastest way to get out of here is to hit this button to the left, land on this invisible platform, and get over the wall just like that, while jumping on the rocks. Okay, now we're going to jump off this slide here, but you want to go left to right. You don't... okay. You don't want to go too far right, because there's a death plane to our right. If we hit that, we're dead, obviously, because it's a death plane. Alright, so now we're down here. Once you're down here, you don't need to stop. You can just start looking up and hover. You don't need to line it up in any specific way yet. So you just kind of follow this line, and the visual cue I normally have for this is these twin leaves that are going to pop up. I'll point an arrow towards them when they show up. Right here, I want these 2 leaves to be in the center of the screen, kinda. And once we get into this clearing, we're just gonna drop. Okay, and now we just gotta cartwheel all the way up to the cave. And we can just fast forward through this because there's not much happening apart from cartwheeling. Once we get up here, we can just do a cartwheel into this platform here. Don't need a pizza glide. Just spin stall into it. Walk slightly to the right, and that'll activate a cutscene. Now the fastest way to do this puzzle is to do the jellyfish first. Is what I normally do. You really want to be careful you don't hit the flower symbol first, though, while you're doing that. So you kind of want to stall for that. And I'll do this one more time now, just to be safe, just to make sure you got it. Okay, so yeah, we want to do jellyfish first, avoid hitting the flower, get the fish, walk around here to this flower, hit it once, get the shell, twice over to the left, hit this one into the first position. Unfortunately, you can't just hit these consecutively, you gotta wait for all of them to stop moving before you're able to hit another one. So yep, that's flower, jellyfish, fish, shell, heart. Just like that. Okay, once we enter the boss fight, we're gonna go first for yellow bone. For yellow bone, you typically want to do a cartwheel jump, and that is done by hitting the cartwheel key and the jump key on the same frame. But it's a lot harder for keyboard users because keyboard inputs are uncapped compared to controller inputs, which are limited to 60 FPS. So it's a lot harder to hit them on the same frame for keyboard. But I'm still going to try to get it nonetheless. Just like that. Now, if you jump on the 1 frame error that I talked about at the beginning of the tutorial, you can just get your jump eaten there and completely just miss the bone. You can also get it just by getting good jump spacing, but that is a lot harder to do, especially on controller. So yeah, cartwheel jump is probably still the best way to go. And now to talk about pink bone. So pink bone, we can hit from right here and just jump across from there, but that is extremely hard to do and really inconsistent. And sometimes it's impossible to get it in the first place because you lose too much height on the initial dodge cancel. I've gotten this twice before and run somehow, but it's nowhere near consistent. I haven't gotten it in a long time. And the way you're actually supposed to do it is you stand on that rock and you cartwheel jump into the bone. But I am never able to get that. I've never gotten that before, so I will show one of my friends getting it because I am not able to get it. Sorry, I don't really have any tips for this one. Okay, once we get pink bone, we're gonna go for blue bone. Blue bone is the most consistent one of the 3. So I normally make that cube hit the lava first because if you let him go, he's likely going to go in front of the bone and mess up your day. So you want to stand in the middle of this rock, kinda, right smack in the middle, and you want to just jump space to the bone. Not losing too much height on the initial dodge cancel. Alright, and for the rest of this fight, we're just basically going to avoid the enemies and hit the bones. So we'll just fast forward through this. Occasionally cartwheeling through the shockwaves. Keep that in mind. Alright, for this last phase, I do want to point out a few things for the end of the fight. So for the last phase, there's going to be more punching guys that show up, that split up, and their halves can slow you down when they jump on you. You do not want to hit the last bone while one of them is on you, because if you do, the slowdown from the enemy will carry into the hub world, and it will not go away until you die, and it will lose you a lot of time when you get to medieval. And okay, so another thing to mention, this eel that just died right there, if you stand on the opposite side from it, aka the opposite side of the pink bone, you can just get the eel to run into the lava itself, and it'll die on its own. So yeah, that is the boss fight. And now it is time for medieval. So there we just skipped a cutscene and spanned through some dialogue. Now we talk to Cassandra, go through her dialogue, skip a cutscene, and now the fastest way to do this is to just go back to SpongeBob's Pineapple and cartwheel upright. Then once we get to that bookshelf, we're going to spam through the dialogue, and now we just gotta hit these and collect them. We're just gonna go through Squidward and warp to the tree dome. We will take Mystery to the portal. And now, once we get into medieval, we're going to have a couple options here. We're going to have a few options. We can either do a massive hover that skips the entirety of the slide and the tower, or we can go through the tower and just lose around 6-7 seconds of route. And I will go through both just in case you don't want to do the big hover method, because it is a little bit harder at first. So yeah, I'll show both. Ignore the fact I have the speed rings here. I just started using the save states with all the power-ups unlocked. You won't have these at 90%. Keep that in mind. Just want to maximize the distance on that jump there. And once we get to this trampoline here, we're going to start a hover. Around there should be good. Don't need to wait too long for that hover, just a few seconds. Now once we get to this trampoline, we're going to start the hover. So we're just going to turn around, go to the left of the slide, and we're going to start the hover. And you see this kind of line of clouds that I'm going to show in editing? I'm going to make sure that's angled a little bit downwards for the hover. We're just going to wait. Once we start cutting off this second row of clouds, we're going to start dropping. Eventually, the slam will end. A few seconds after we go through those clouds, we're going to just start moving in this general direction. And here is going to load in soon. We will get on this wooden platform, and we're going to do another hover from the tikis over there. So I'm just going to jump over here and set this up. You don't want to set it up too fast though, you gotta wait for the camera to adjust, or SpongeBob is still going to be on screen, and you're just going to hit the tikis and you won't be able to get enough height to get all the way over to that slingshot. So yeah, I'm going to start the hover. Have this tower be around just to the left of the center of the screen. And there we go. Perfect. And that will get us to the Bard audition. And now for the no hover method. Well, not no hover method, but the less hover method. So for this method, we're just going to go through the entire slide, go past the trampoline. Okay, up here is a little bit of a skip incoming. So when I get on this surfboard, I'm going to turn to the right and go in between kind of these two trampolines. Once the surfboard runs out, we're going to spin stall and start pizza gliding. Once we get around down to this height, we're just going to turn into this balloon and kick it. Just like that. And now once we go here, we can just drop way to the right here and hold right, because there's no death barrier there. Okay, and now we're in the tower area. And now I will show how I normally do the tower fast. So here, we're going to start by jumping off over there, hitting that pressure plate, warping back, and here we're going to cartwheel in between these two stairs and land on this pressure plate, warp back again, and now we're going to spin stall, do 2 pizza glides, and land on this staircase. Then we can kick this balloon and the slide will show up. Once we get on the slide, there's going to be a bit of a skip that we're going to do. We're going to keep to the left here because there's a little bit of death plane immediately to our right. So we're going to wait a little bit and jump in this tower's direction. Now here we have 2 options. We can either do a hoverless strat, where we jump and pizza glide straight over to that building and avoid having to hover, or we can just do the hover and go around the building. Because there is a death plane right inside where that unicorn building is. So I will demonstrate the hoverless method right now. When you have a certain amount of pizza glide left, there is a threshold where if you release the pizza glide, it won't come back. So once you get down into the red, you kind of want to just hold it out. You see, I got it, but I went forward too much, and I hit the death plane inside there. Just another hazard. Also, ending pizza glides too fast will just result in you falling, and the pizza glide not coming back. So now we can just walk around the edges here, and drop over here. And I'll just show the other way. So for the hover version, we're going to stand right here. We're going to cut off, you see this circle here to the top right, the very top right? I'm going to cut that off, and we're going to start the hover with a cartwheel. And then once we start cutting this rainbow slide here in half, we're going to drop. Once it gets to the halfway point in between there. And there we go. So yeah, both methods work. It's a matter of which one you want to do. You can either do the big hover version, you can do the slide version, you can do the slide version with the hoverless skip. Either way works. So yeah, all of those methods work, just a matter of which one you want to do. And now we'll just do the audition. You don't need to get every single one correct, you can just get exactly 12. What I am doing right now is a normal pattern that I go for. But you can do it any way you want. Sometimes I lose myself with my fingers in this. Alright, once we're done with Bard, we're just going to go to the left, jump on this torch here. No spins required for that. Get on this wall, jump on this wooden peg here, and then we're going to jump in this direction and kick the tartar sauce spot that's up there. Don't need to get scared about that. We're going to just hit the wall and land up there. Just like that. And then we enter dormatory. And for dormatory, we're going to do a hover. And for this hover, you have 2 options. You can either costume change and kick the enemy, which saves about 3 seconds if you do it right, or we can just land on the bunk bed and behind the enemy there. And I will show off both strats right now. So for the version where we're kicking the enemy, you kind of want to get in front of the bunk bed he's on, and then we're going to switch costumes. Once we exit, we're going to jump. You don't want to spam the spacebar though, because then you'll just do a pizza glide and get rid of your height. So, exit, jump once, kick. And that's how you do that version. And now for the other version, we're going to just land on the bed behind it, which is a lot safer if you're newer to the game. Just gonna stay to the right here. Just like that. So either way works. And here I'm actually going to show a comparison because I honestly do not know which one is faster right now. So we have 3 methods. One is to just do a hover from here and go straight to the end. And the other way is to get on a beam far in the distance to hover for about 2/3 the distance compared to the first method. Okay, so as you've just seen, the method from hovering closer by is ever so slightly faster than hovering right away. It might not even be faster, it might just be the way that I recorded it. But anyways, so there's not much to explain for it. You just gotta get over there however you like. I personally jump on that stick there. Get over here. I broke these tikis, so I didn't have to ledge grab, but that's optional. If you do break these tikis, the jump over to this enemy that I kicked is a lot more tight, so if your jump spacing isn't the best yet, you might want to just ledge grab instead. So yeah. Let's go over to this enemy. You can knock him off. It's optional if you do the jump hover method, because you don't need to do the dodge cancel that I did in the comparison. You can just do a jump hover, that works too, because the dodge cancel, the minimize hovering is a little bit more inconsistent. So yeah, then you just want to jump hover or dodge cancel hover. If you do the jump hover, you don't need to go out of your way to go in the center, but if you dodge cancel hover, you're likely going to be a little bit lower than you would be than jump hovering, so you'll get stopped by the wooden beams in front of you, so you need to go to the center to avoid them. And once you hear that checkpoint, you know that you've made it far enough. Now we just hit these buttons. And while I'm killing these enemies quick, I'm going to explain something for the Twitchy boss fight. So Twitchy can be made much easier by angling your camera towards the door over there, because keep in mind, any entity that's off screen technically doesn't exist. So there are going to be enemies that spawn near Pearl that we can keep from spawning, and that's going to make it a lot more bearable and easier to get the cakes there faster. I normally turn my camera after I get this third cake here, because I don't like doing that on keyboard without seeing. So yeah, normally there'd be boxing enemies that would spawn around now, but since I have my camera facing this direction, they are not spawning in. You can also damage boost through the green balls that Twitchy's throwing by just cartwheeling, as always. I got hit pretty far that time. But yeah, otherwise this boss fight, not much more to explain. You kind of want to prioritize killing the enemies so you have a straight path. And also not getting hit by the green balls, because it loses around like 3 to 5 seconds every time you do so. You see, when I turn my camera in that direction, everything spawned in at once. So just keep that in mind. Keep the camera face towards the door. Okay, so there we just skipped a cutscene, spammed, skipped, and spammed, and now we can just whoop straight back to the pineapple. And now it's very important for these 3 dialogues that you skip through all of them. You want to skip through all of them, because if you don't, you'll end up like this guy. What? What does it want me to do? So what happened there when I spam through them is, for some reason, whenever you spam through these, there's a chance that it won't count you as talking to Cassandra, and then you'll need to talk to Patrick again, and that'll lose you time. I did not know that at the time of the clip, so I just lost my run to it, so yeah, be careful about that. And once we're done talking to her, we just go to boating school, spam through Mrs. Puff's dialogue here, skip the cutscene. Okay, now we can get these jellyfish. You don't really need to be careful getting this ball in there. The log just kind of sucks it up. You can jump preemptively if you're feeling ballsy enough. That's what I do in runs, so go faster. And when you hit this jellyfish, sometimes SpongeBob orients himself really weirdly, and when you're on a rolling rock, SpongeBob will jump off in the direction that he's facing, so you just want to make sure that he is facing in the correct direction before you jump. Otherwise, you'll need to get back on the ball and jump again and lose time. So now I just got the rest of them. We'll be good to go. Sometimes it kind of eats your spin there. That's happened to me a couple times, but be careful about that. And then we just go into Mrs. Puff, and now we're in the final level of the game. So here we're going to do a few hovers. So for this first hover, we're going to use this trampoline and do a mid-air hover. I kind of want to get as close to the goo as possible, but kind of like, I don't want to die, obviously. So, and I want to do that because it'd be easier to tell when you first are over land. So, because you don't want to hover too far and lose time, you know. So we're just gonna... If you go too far to the right, you will trigger the boss fight. for the bathtub, and you don't want that, obviously. So in a second here, this mission objective is going to switch to the bottom of the screen. You want that to be in the center of the screen, maybe a little bit to the left to land. More to the right here. So once these buildings appear, you will know that you are good. Am I good? I'm good. I couldn't tell there. I couldn't tell what was blocking me. So now we need to get this reef blower. Right here is the trigger for the reef blower, which we need for the run to kill Glovey. And now we're just going to hover straight from this building. Kind of want to make sure you don't hit that yellow building, because if you do, there's a chance that it will just kill you straight up. But yeah. Once you get there, we're just going to hover. Again, it's optional to do that version of the hover. You can just jump hover or fall hover, whichever one you prefer. So yeah, this time you kind of want this mission objective to be on the right side of the screen. Right side of the center. To be safe, you can also hover from the building instead. That's a little bit safer. But yeah, once you hear this dialogue right here, you'll know that you're good to go. Okay, and now for jail skip. Not much to explain. You just gotta stay to the right, because if you're too far to the left, the boss fight's gonna happen, and you don't want that. We're just gonna stay to the right. Do some jump spacing. You might need a pizza glide there, you might not need to. Depends on how good your jump spacing is. Going to the center is slightly faster. You can also go around, just to be safe if you're on a good run, you know, you don't want to die. I just get the surfboards. Now, if you're on a kind of a tight cycle for this Ferris wheel, you can just get on this wooden stake here and maybe risk it a bit, but you don't really need to. Someone loses about 5 seconds, maybe a little bit less per cycle that you miss. You don't need to be too close to the edge here. A mistake I see runners make sometimes is that they think they need to be really close to the edge to make that jump, but you really don't need to. And for that jump there, you can just use your pizza glide right away so that you don't need to wait to land. And now we have Glovey boss fight. So there, you can just kick that enemy there, grab the reef blower, cartwheel off the edge, and suck them off. And then some more enemies are going to spawn that we can eat. You don't really need to be careful about aiming at Glovey, you just need to make sure you're close to him, and that the thing to shoot him is there. And now for this next phase, the goal is to get these bathtub guys to die in the goo. And you can cartwheel through that, and this should be perfect. If he actually goes in the goo. Okay. Well, that wasn't the worst. That wasn't the worst. That's about average. Kick that boxing enemy to go a bit faster. Now we'll practice that bathtub section. It'll be consistent after a little while. So you can also suck up those balls that he throws to fill up your reef blower. And then you shoot him, and that's it. Now here, there's a couple methods that we can do. We can either do a hover from the balloon, because this speed ring won't be here in an 80% run, or we can jump from the top of the glove and do a hover, which is a safer method. So jump on the glove is kind of finicky with where the hitbox is, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad. Once we get in the back of this glove, we're just gonna go around, because the hitbox for the glove is too high if you're too far to the right, so you gotta go left first. Then you just do a hover over to the platform, and he will start the fight. And I'm not going to show that though, because then we have this method. And if we're too low doing this method, he will not throw the trash, and you'll have to wait for him to throw it again. But it will still put you on the platform, so you might not want to actually die. So, and if you're too high, nothing really happens. You just won't be able to get the trash to land properly, more than likely. So yeah, we're going to try to avoid the speed ring, because we're not going to have that in 80%. So here we go. That should be good. Looks nice. You want to stay under one of these platforms so the trash can land on them. Make sure you don't slam too early, or you're just gonna slam into the goo.
I admire you, Glovey Glove, but you leave me no choice.
And now we're just gonna do the boss fight. And that'll be the end of the main levels. Just gonna throw another one. And that is the level. Okay, now we have the trash minigame. That's simple but easy to mess up. So I'm gonna be on a cycle here. I'm gonna explain how to do the flip later for the box trash. So, yep, that. Just gonna put these two on here. Doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you're able to make that cycle. And then for this clip, you kind of, if you put the trash like kind of inside of the trash, the dumpster, you're able to just release it, and it'll just go into the dumpster. And you won't need to go up top. So you don't want to be straight on like this. I mean, you can do that, but it's not going to be consistent. So, yep, like that. But what I normally do is I kind of stand like right at an angle, like right here, and trash is going to go through the trash can. So you can practice that, setting it up fast. So yeah, and then we just warp back to the pineapple, and then we have the boss fight. The best boss fight of all time. Here we go. So you can just stand on this chair for the majority, for the entire first phase. We won't be able to do this for the third phase though, because they'll just, the square guys are gonna attack you no matter what. The floating squares. So when she disappears here, you need to wait for her to respawn before you hit her, or she's gonna soft lock. So you need to wait for a good bit after she disappears to actually jump and hit her. Make sure she actually disappears. I mean reappears. So once we put up our reflower, we can just go back on the chair and chill out. It also goes the same for the reflower. You can also hit her too early with the reflower as well. So you need to hit her either before she respawns or after she respawns. I mean, before she despawns or after she respawns. That's what I wanted to say. Now we're just going to refill our reflower one more time. And those square guys, you can get comboed by them, which can be pretty devastating. So you just don't want to suck them up while they're slamming, or the shockwave is going to hit you as you're sucking them up. So yeah, you don't want to get those in your reflower as they're slamming. Just kind of want to avoid taking damage. Use the underwear if you need to feel safe. Okay, and that's it. And that's everything. That is the entire tutorial for the Cosmic Shake 8%. And now final takeaways. So, this game is heavily movement based. There aren't really many hard tricks you can add to save time, so you gotta focus on optimizing the spa stuff, you know. Thank you so much for watching. It's been fun making this. I'll be uploading this right before GDQ starts this year, 2024. That's gonna be very hype. I hope to see you there. And if you're coming from GDQ after the fact, thank you so much for watching as well. I hope you give this game a chance. I might try to make a 1.06 tutorial for the modern versions, but we'll see what happens. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my streams. If you're there, I will see you at GDQ, and have a good night.